Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, your go-to spot for all things tech, Salesforce, machine learning, Python, data visualization, and many more. Today, we are tackling an essential skill for Salesforce admin and developers, integrating two Salesforce orgs using Salesforce flows. If you have ever needed to sync data across Salesforce org or streamline processes between different teams, this tutorial is for you. We will dive into everything from understanding the business need for cross-org integrations to setting up our powerful automations using Salesforce flows and HTTP callouts. By the end, you will be able to keep data in sync across your multiple orgs, multiple Salesforce orgs, which helps in improving the team collaboration and save tons of time. So let's get started in today's video and let's have a look how do we make a Salesforce or integration easier than ever. And yes, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe and turn on the notification bell icon so you are always up to date with the latest in tech. So let's begin this tutorial and you might have gone through one of my previous video and in the integration, and in that video I have explained that how can we integrate, how can we perform an integration between two Salesforce or by writing an Apex class. But in this, I just wanted to make it more simple. And here I will be going to perform an integration between two Salesforce org from org A to org B by using flows. So in using flows, we'll be going to make HTTP callouts. So let's talk about the background first. So ABC Corp has multiple Salesforce org and each serving different business units. So currently, when an account is updated or created in org A, users in org B do not have immediate access to the latest accounts information. So manually, the team from org A, they will be passing the informations to org B, or then the team, those who will be managing the org B, those who will managing the org B environment, they used to update the information in org B. So that's a manual process. And this basically this creates a lot of challenges. Maybe the data not get updated on time. So to support timely collaboration and ensure data consistency, ABC Corp needs a seamless automated solution to synchronize account data across orgs in real time. We can integrate multiple orgs, but in this example, in this video, I will be going to show you how can we integrate two orgs. So the business requirement is to eliminate the manual processes and ensure up-to-date information is readily available. ABC Corp requires an automated synchronization mechanism to duplicate account records from org A to org B. This should be achieved through Salesforce flows and HTTP callouts, enabling real-time data transfer without the need for manual intervention. So this is the business requirement and the objective. So let me tell you the steps which we will be going to follow. So here are the steps which we'll be going to follow. We'll be going to create a connected app on org B. We'll be going to create auth provider on org A. So on org B, you only need to create a connected app, and rest of the implementations configurations will be going to implement or on org A, including the flows record trigger flow. Let me show you with the help of a diagram. So this is what we are going to configure. So as you can see, we have got two Salesforce org A and org B. So I would consider org B as my target org and org A as my source org. So I would like to create a record trigger flow on org A that whenever we create a new account, it will update that account. It will create the similar account on org B also. And for this, we'll be going to create a connected app on org B. To know more about connected app, I have explained about connected app and how do we configure connected app. I'll drop the link in the description below. So connected app, and from the on org B, we need to configure the callback URL, and org A, we are going to configure all these settings. So this will be a complete tutorial about the integration between two org by using flows automation to by making HTTP callouts. So please watch this video till end, and you can post your comments at the end if you have any. So let's proceed this video. And first of all, as you can see, let me show you that I've got two orgs. So these are my two Salesforce org. So this Salesforce org I will consider as org one. Let me make a notepad. Let me open a notepad and I'll mention over there. So this is my org one, which I would refer as a source org. This will be my org one, and my org 2 will be my org 2, as you can see, which says the domain URL is AI Tech One Training Dev develop.lightning.course.com. So intentionally I have changed the domain name so that you can understand it easily. Otherwise it's very difficult to understand the domain name. So almost all the domain names look like same if you don't specify any domain name, but I have changed it intentionally, so which will help you to understand or to make you understand that these are two different orgs. So this one is my org 2, which I label this as my target org, and this I configured as my source org. And the requirement is whenever we create an account record in source org, I would like to replicate or duplicate the same account on org 2, which will be my target org. So let's start with step number one. So what is the step number one? The step number one is it's time to create a connected app. So step number one, as I have mentioned here also, in step number one, we need to create the connected app in org B. That is our org two. So let's see how do we create a connected app. So I'm going to create a connected app. So let's see how do we create the connected app in org two. So let me switch to my org two. That's my org two. And here I will be going to create my connected app. So in order to know more about connected app, as I mentioned that I'll share the link in the description below, but you can follow these steps also. So I'll just, in the setup home, I search for app manager, and in app manager, when we click on app manager, we can get a list of all the applications, and there is an option called new connected app. You will get a button here, new connected app. So with the help of this new connected app, we'll be going to add a new connected app. So I click on new connected app button. And here you have to select create a connected app, continue. And because I'm just operating in a private browser, so therefore I have to allow the third party cookies just to make it available. So you can also do the similar thing. Just highlight that, just leave it. And now let's create a connected app. So I'm just give the connected app as let's say Salesforce, Salesforce or integration app. You can give any name you want. Contact email. I'll give the contact email my personal email, the email which I use to sign up in order for any further communication. Scroll down. Here we have to check this option which says enable auth settings. I activate this. And here I need to check the callback URL. So I need to give the callback URL. No, right now we don't have the callback URL with us, right? We don't have the callback URL for the org A. So therefore, I'll just refer this as HTTPS localhost.com. So I'm going to give the I just give the callback URL as this. Later on, we can change this. We will be going to change this later. And now it's time to configure the permissions. So what permissions do we want? What all settings do we want to select here? Or what all settings, what all permissions we would like to assign? So the first setting I'm going to select here is full access. So I give permission as full access. The second setting I want here is, let's scroll down and it says manage manage user data via APIs. And the third one, I want to give permission as perform request at any time, refresh token offline access, so that refresh token and for offline access, I give permission. So that's the selected auth scope. Scroll down. I'll just require proof key for code exchange. I'll just deactivate this. You can see require the PC PKC's extension for all variables and authorizations. So I just disable that. I don't want that. So that's the way I just configure my set. I select the scope and all. That's all you have to do here. And finally, click on save. Continue. This is step number one. So we have successfully configured connected app on step number one. Now let's move to step number two. And in step number two, we need to configure auth provider. So let's do that. How do we configure auth provider in auth2? So let me switch to my auth2 first. So I'm on my auth2 and now it's time to configure auth provider. So this is my auth2 and here I just set auth provider, auth dot provider. Click on new. I'm going to configure a new auth provider here and the provider type will be Salesforce because we would like to connect to Salesforce. And here you can give any name you want. So I'll give the name as let's say org integration auth provider because I'm going to perform an integration between two Salesforce org. So I label this as org integration auth provider. Now it's time to get the consumer key and consumer secret. Now, which consumer key and consumer secret on from where we can get this? So this is the consumer key and consumer secret we need to provide for the target Salesforce org connected app or the connected app which we have created on org B. So that connected app consumer key and consumer secret we need to provide here. We need to pass here. So how do we get this consumer key and consumer secret? So for this, I will get back to my I'll get back to my target org. This is my org B. And here we have an option called consumer key and consumer secret. So I click on manage consumer details. It will ask for the verification code. And this verification code I'm going to receive in my mailbox. So its verification code is 626749. So 626749. So you have to provide the verification code which you received on your email. And here you can see I got my consumer key and consumer secret. So I click on consumer key and paste it over here. So this is my consumer key, which I have copy pasted. And this is my consumer secret, which consider to be as which I have pasted out here. So I just successfully specify consumer key and consumer secret. Now, when we scroll down, we don't have to do any configuration in the endpoint URL, but the important is default scope. So what are the default scope? So for the default scope, we get back to our connected app, and in the connected app, you can see the selected auth scope. So these are the default scope, or these are the scopes which we need to configure in auth provider on org1. So the first is API. I copy this API and paste it API space. Next is full, copy, paste. And third is refresh token, comma, full access. Right now I copy paste it and later on I'll just replace this comma with space. That's the way I set the default scope. That's all we have to do here and click on save. So we have successfully configured the auth provider. And as soon as we configure the auth provider, as you can see, when I scroll down, we will be getting the callback URL. And if you can see, we have to configure the callback URL on org B. This is what I was talking about is how do we get, so we need to configure callback URL. So this is the callback URL which gets generated by the auth provider in org A. So I copy this callback URL and I'm going to paste this callback URL on connected app on org B. So I edit this And if you remember, while creating this connected app, we set the callback URL as a default one HTTP local host. So I remove this callback URL and replace this with the one which we retrieved from org A, from the auth provider on connected app on org one. This is this configuration done successfully. So basically, org B configuration setting has been done successfully. Now, whatever customization we'll be going to do, all those settings we need to configure on org A only. So now the next step is we need to create the named credential. So next is named credential. So let's have a look how do we create named credentials. And before creating named credentials, we need to create external credentials. And that external credential will be using the named credential. This we have done in one of my previous video also. So I will be following the same step. So I click on external credentials, next, or click on new, and here I give this name as, you can give any name you want. I'll give this name as, let's say, Salesforce external credential, and I copy paste this label as a name. Authentication protocol will be auth 2.0 because the auth settings we are using, basically the authorization we'll be using to in order to set up an org connectivity between two org, that is auth 2.0. So I select auth 2.0, and here we have to select the authorization provider. So this is the same authorization provider which we configured in the previous step. So I click authorization provider and org integration auth provider. I just set here. That's all in external credentials. Click on save. Now within external credentials, you scroll down. It's time to create principals. So click on new, labeled as admin, and identity type as named principal. Click on save. Now, the external credentials which we have configured, we need to give permission. We need to assign this external credentials to be accessed by the user, by a specific user, or all those users, those who can use this service. We need to give them permission. So therefore, it's time to configure permission set. So I click on permission sets now. And within permission set, if you have any existing permission set which you have already configured previously, you can use that one. Or else, I'm going to create a new permission set, which will help us to, assign this external credentials to a specific user. So I just click on new, and click on Salesforce all permission set. Save this. And here, scroll down and you can see external credential principal access. So I click external credential principal access, edit, and the external credential, Salesforce external credential, and the principal is admin. So I just give permission for that. I enable that, save this. So our permission set is ready, but now it's time to assign this permission set to a user. So I click on manage assignments, and I'm going to assign this permission set to a user. So current assignments, add assignments, and I will be assigning this to the respective user. So right now I just want to give permission to myself only. So I select my name, click next, assign, and done. So assignment configured successfully. So we have successfully configured the assignment. So we have successfully configured the assignment. And now it's time to create the named credentials. See, we have successfully done assign the external credentials to user using permission set. Now we are going to create the named credential. So how do we do that? Again, I'll get back to setup, home, and whatever settings we are doing right now, all these configurations will be doing on org A. So here I again select named credential, and this time we'll be going to create a new named credential. So I click on new, label as I just give Salesforce name credential. I'll copy this and paste it. Now it's time for the URL. How do we get the URL? How do we retrieve URL? This is an important part. Now, in order to retrieve URL, there are two possible ways. The first way is I can open my developer console and I can get there. So this will be my URL actually https AI Tech One Training develop.my.force.com. This will be the URL. But if we want to get a URL, if we want to get the exact URL, then in Apex there is a code which will help us to get the exact URL. And how do I get that? Let's see. I click on debug, open execute anonymous window, and here I'm going to pass a URL. I'm going to pass a code. What's that? System.debug URL dot get org domain URL, and let me execute. So this will give the domain URL, and that domain URL we need to configure in our system, in our org A. So I'll just check this box and click on execute. Once this code executed successfully, I'll just click on debug only and I will get the URL. That's the URL. As you can see, https AI Tech One Training Dev Salesforce.com. This is the URL. So what we need to do now, I need to copy this URL and pass this URL over here. This will be my domain URL. Okay, that's the way we can get URL. And if you check this URL and this URL is exactly same. So that's why I mentioned that we can use this URL also, but it's better that I use this method to get the URL. Now I can close this. Next is we need to set the external credentials. So we have the Salesforce external credentials. We don't require anything else, nothing else. We don't need to configure any other settings. And finally, I click on save. So our name credentials created successfully. Now it's time for the authentication. That this is one of the important part, because if you don't authorize it, if you don't authenticate this, then the Salesforce flow will not be going to perform an operation. In one of the previous example, in one of my previous video where we have integrated integration, there we did the authorization using Apex classes. But this time we'll be doing authorization in build, because we will be going to use this name credentials from a flow. So I click on Salesforce external credentials. Let's open that. And in Salesforce external credential, when you scroll down, you can see the principal and it is not yet configured. Now it's time to configure this. And how do we configure? I click here and we need to click on authenticate. Now, when I click on authenticate, it will ask for the credential. It will ask for the username and password. So which username and password? Org to username and password. So we have to provide the org to username and password. Remember one thing. This is important. Okay, or to username and password. So we need to give that we need to give that one. So let's click here. I click on authenticate. When I click authenticate, it redirects me to the login page. Here I need to provide the credentials. So which credential? As I mentioned, here we have to provide or the credentials. So username and password. So that's my username, and let me check my password because I have multiple auth. So password is this. So I just enter password as MIN and click on log. It will ask for the permission. I'll say yes. And once it is done, you can see it roll back. It confirm. So you can say once the authorization is successful, it will redirect back to the name credentials configuration, and we can see configured successfully. This is very much important that it should labeled as configured. If it is not labeled as configured, that means it's not yet authenticated. It's not authenticated successfully. So make sure that you will be getting this message. So now it's configured successfully. So we have successfully configured this. Now it's time to create a flow. So basically, we have all basic steps we have successfully done, configured successfully, and now it's time to create a record trigger flow. So let me create a flow. I'll just select flow here, flows, and click on new flow. And select start from scratch. And this time I will be using record triggered flow, because as already shared the business requirement. The business requirement was that every time we create a new record on account object on org A, we would like to duplicate the same record on account B within account object. So therefore, I select record triggered flow. And here, I just wanted to run this trigger on account object. Whenever the record is created, any entry condition, no, I don't want to set any condition. I want every time to do this. And only thing I'm going to do here is include a run asynchronously path to access an external system after the original transaction for the trigger is successfully committed. So I check this option, clear, and close this. So you can see run asynchronously or run immediately. So I just wanted to run it synchronously. Now, once it is done, it's time to post a message. And for this, it's time to create an account on org B. So therefore, click here and I'm going to configure an action. So click on create HTTP callout. And here I label this as create, uh, create account on org B. Create account on org B. The name credential, Salesforce name credential, you can see the same URL will be coming up here. And next, label, add account on org B. Method will be post method. Why post method? Because we would like to send a message. We would like to create a record. We like to post a message. So that's why method will be post. What will be the URL path? How do we get this URL path? And for this URL path, I will take you to the REST API guide. REST API guide, actually, not guidelines, REST API guide. And in REST API guide, REST API developer guide, REST API developer guide. In REST API developer guide, search for an option called create record, and create a record because we are going to create one single record at a time. So create record. And here you can see my domain. This is the URL /services/data version 62.0/s object/account. So I would like to create a record into account object. So we have to specify the complete URL. I mentioned here complete URL because I want to add a record into an account object. So therefore I specify here account. If you want to create into another object, so we need to mention that name. We need to specify that name. Now this we can retrieve from using Postman also, but I am doing this from here. I'm doing this from here. Click on next. Now, when I click on next, here we have to paste a sample JSON. That's an important part, sample JSON. So in order to get the sample JSON, I just write here sample JSON to post to create an account. Now, if you can see, here's a sample JSON, example request body C for creating a new account. We can use this. That's a sample JSON. So I'll use the SAM sample, but at the same time, I just want to add more fields. So I just want to add name, phone, and add the sample as something like this. I want to add, let's say, account type. Let's say test account, or let's say account type as banking. Okay, so let me open account object, sales application, account, new, and the fields. Basically, I want name banking. And one more field I want here actually. Okay, so some customization has been done here. Let me open this one. I just want to get the fields and test value. So type and industry. So industry as set as, let's say, industry as banking and type as prospect. that I'm going to configure here. So type as prospect, that's a sample one, and industry as banking. And one more field I want here, description. Let's say test description. Click on preview. See, string, type, string, fine. That's fine. Click next. Here we have to select connect for schema, use example response. So I click on connect for schema and next. Connect industry. Sorry, spelling mistake. Spell previous and industry. Review, next, and connect. See. Item is ID is a string, success boolean, item as set as string. Item means it belongs to the or error one. And save. That's all we have to do. Save. It saves successfully. And I label this as I just write here or uh, account posting on or B. So add account on or B, that's fine. Now the important is set request body. So what we have to do, we have to set a request body. So I click here, new resource, and I'm going to set a request body here. So I'll set it as request body. You can give any name you want. And that's all we have to do. Make sure that Apex class will be this and done. That's all we have to do. Let me close this and save this. So I'll just write flow to add account on or B from or A. That's the name of my flow. So first part is done. Now we need to do the assignments for the fields because whenever we create a record into an account object, so whatever fields will be there, we want to map the fields to with the org with the on account object on org B. So I click plus, and here I will be going to use assignments. Assign values, values. So now it's time to get this. And okay, now the important thing is from where are we getting the values? So output from account. So here what we have to do, here we need to set the values. So the values will be from request body. So I just write request body dot. See, these all are the fields we have declared in our body within the response while setting up the HTTP callout. So I select name, and from where this name is coming up, this name will be coming from the triggering account, and name, account name. So we have to set the fields like this: request body dot description and request body dot industry and request body dot phone, and the last one will be request body dot type, and I'm going to map. So description, I just add description as account created using HTTP call out, so that it will be easy to understand that what all records created by using call out, HTTP call out. Later on, if you want to make some filter out, it will help us out. Industry. So from industry, I just write here triggering account industry. For phone, triggering account phone, and for type, triggering account type, account type. That's all we have to do here. That's all we have to do. So that's all. That's all. So basically, it will perform the operation successfully. If we want, we can add a fault path. If any issue comes up, we can add a fault path. And if you want to generate a log, then what you can do, you can store basically you can save the errors or logs in an object, in a custom object, which will help you to understand that if whether the process will be successful or not. But right now, I'm not going to do this. I'll just leave it as it is, and I'll just click on save. Now, in order to test it, I click on activate this and we'll be going to test it now. So let's activate it and test it. So I click on activate and on account object, I'll just switch say new this week. So you can see we don't have any record this week. And in same manner, I'm on account right now and I'll just say new this week, new this week, sorry, new this week. So you can see there is one record new this week. So let me delete this actually. So now what we are going to do, we'll be going to test it that every whenever we create a new record into account object in our org A, the same record will be going to replicate in org B. Let's do that. I click on new. See, I'm on org 1 right now, org A. Click on new, and I just write uh, integration test account, phone number 8009079, account type as prospect, account industry as chemicals, and description you can give if you want, but I just leave it as it is. I just leave it the blank description and click on save. And you can see the account gets created successfully on org A. Now let me go and check whether the same account gets created on org B or no. So when I refresh, see I'm on org B now, and when I refresh on org B, you can see the same record get created, same account created here successfully. This is this account created from org A. So let's open this org, let's open this account on org B, and we'll check the details. Are the same, see, same account name, phone number, type, prospects, and the most important thing is the description account created using HTTP callout. And here we don't have any description. So that's the way we can successfully integrate to org, and we can make an HTTP callout from org, and we can make HTTP callout from one org to another by using flows, and also we can perform an integration between two org by setting up a flow in Salesforce with the help of name credentials and external name credentials and external credentials. So that's all in this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe my channel. And if you have any requirement on customized training on Salesforce or any project support, you can reach out to us. You can reach out to me on the given numbers or you can drop an email. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Keep coding, everyone. Bye.